Today I'm going to rebuild the wing window on this C10 here. Done a handful of them so far, and it's kind of an overlooked item. I'm really big on replacing door seals. A lot of people don't do it for some reason. I don't know if they're intimidated by it. It's just kind of one of those overlooked things. Weather seals go bad, it takes the vehicle out real quick, especially if it sits outside. Most of the rust repair and stuff like that I've been doing on the handful of classics I've been working on are because the window seals went bad. Water started coming in, water sits in the channels, bang, you got rust, and then all of a sudden you've got some really fun contours to fix. The bottom of the doors are gone. So this is something that's not expensive, doesn't take a whole lot of time, and it just makes a huge difference. Even just shutting the door on a truck where it sounds like the glass is going to shatter because the felts are bad. It makes just a big difference. It's a very small investment in time. They're very simple. These were mechanical, just roll downs. They're not power windows. I replaced the regulators in it too. You can get the Dorman regulators for 35, 40 bucks. While you're there, just do it all. So, wing windows, pretty straightforward. There's only 2 seals. There is kind of a procedure on how you put it back together. So I'll kind of go over that. If you don't follow the procedure right, then you'll be taking it back apart, grinding more rivets off, that kind of stuff. This nut here is the funnest part of it. Most of the time it's going to be rusted pretty bad. I hit it with a wire wheel just to try to get as much scale off of it as possible. Take a pick, pull whatever you can out. There are 2 flat sides, so there's very little thread here. Do not break it off. Do not strip it. Take your time. Soak it down. I use PV Blaster. This stuff's best I've found. Saved my butt a lot when I used to live up north. Once you get this out, you will actually have to take the 2 rivets off for the hinge of the glass and remove the glass itself. This is a kind of different one to pull apart because you think that you just kind of wig it to the side and tap it out or something. This washer will actually cock and kind of lock onto the shaft of this. So you need to really be careful not to break it trying to get it out. And it is also clocked at a certain position. There's a flat side on it, so just make note of that it always faces the front. If you put it in backwards, your wing window will only open kind of like wrong. It'll open incorrectly. So that's just a little stupid thing to notice. I'll work on getting this nut loose and grind the heads off these 2. Once you get the glass out, it's actually really simple. There's only 2 other rivets that you'll have to locate that's behind your felt strip here, and that holds the top of this frame to this frame. And once you get that separated, you can pull the old seal out, and it's pretty much straightforward from there. So let me work on my rusty, crusty, please don't strip, break off on me nut here for a little bit. And once I get this thing out, I'll grind the heads off, and then I'll probably video just removing the glass itself to kind of show you. It is kind of a booger to get loose because everything in here is rusty. So either way, we'll get started. And step 1 is praying to the wrench gods that you don't break the nut, don't strip it out. Makes it a lot easier if you can just screw it back together. Just a little heads up. What you're going to want to do here for this nut is just work it back and forth, tighten, loosen, tighten, loosen, and just keep working that slowly, 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 just like you're running a tap. You need to create some sort of place for all that gunk and rust to go, or else you're going to bind up the threads and strip them out or break it off. So just take your time, really take your time with this step. It's going to save you a ton of hassle. I soak the heck out of it constantly back and forth, and you will notice you're slowly but surely gaining ground. See, just like that. Can't go back and forth too much. That's the best way to get them loose and to not risk breaking these off. Yeah, we're home free now. So once that comes loose, this is pretty simple actually. Yes. Whew. Perfect. Now if we can get our spring loose, we'll be rocking and rolling here. Man, this one is rusty. There it is. There's our little retainer piece. And then our spring, of course. Now what I'm gonna do is take this back over to the bench grinder, the wire wheel, clean this shaft up as much as I can. It makes it a lot easier to pull these washers off. There is a, like a, I can't remember what the heck they call them, fennel or something like that washer in between, kind of like a nylon almost. So if you can clean this up to make it slide past this flat spots, makes life a lot easier. So I'll get that done, get these two ground off, and then we'll disassemble it and be right on our way. All right, so now we got this cleaned up. The washers will come off a lot easier now. So there's your first steel, and then your whatever kind of wear washer there is. I'll go ahead and knock these two rivets off real quick and just grind the heads. Be very gentle with it. Through the head, pretty much all you need to do is just lightly pry up on it. It should pop right off for you. There's one. There's two of them. Now comes the fun part. Sometimes these washers come off real easy. Sometimes they kind of fight you, but it does bind in there. So if it is kind of stuck, you gotta kind of wiggle it with your fingers. This one is frozen pretty good. Naturally. This is definitely an exercise in hand strength, by the way. I'll show you when you get back to placing this rubber seal back in the channel. Your hands will be cramped. So there it goes. Best thing is just to stay patient. You got your flat washer. Now your glass is out. Set him to the side. With the felt out of the way, you can see the rivets that we'll have to get to. There are two up top. We'll grind those off to open the frame up. And then the inner seal here that goes against the frame has 4 rivets that you'll grind off. Kind of dark, but you'll see them once you get in there. I'm gonna grind those quick, save you the air tool noise, separate the frame, and we'll pull this thing apart. Easy enough, got them ground down. All you have to do is just get through the head of it. So don't get super carried away, don't push real hard on it. And it's very easy from there. Once again, just take your little screwdriver and the frame actually will open up. You don't need to remove the 2 down here. So this is about as far as you need to disassemble it. The rubber seal goes in first on the outer perimeter. And then once you have that set, this inner seal has like a couple channels that I'll show you on the new seal itself that'll actually slide into on each end to make a complete seal around the whole frame. So you can just kind of start whittling away and getting after it. And this thing just pops up out of the way. Just as easy as that. This thing was in fantastic shape, as you can see. Then, doesn't really matter where you start. These things are kind of a pain to pull out and a pain to put in, but I would say it's definitely the worst part of the job is just dealing with this rubber. Just get up underneath the darn thing. There it is. try to be patient with it. As you start bending this frame, you're gonna have a hell of a time. Gotta love old rubber. It turns into rock, I swear. There we go. Yeah, it's definitely seen better days. So the new lip that I was talking about is actually at the both ends of this new seal. So I can get it into frame here. So what you're gonna end up doing is putting this rubber in first, and then your inner piece slides down in between there. Pretty easy. I always start with the corner, get him located in there first, nice and tight, and then I just work my way out and up. You can start one rolled edge. What you're gonna do is hold it in there like that, and then just use a screwdriver to push that other edge in. Just work your way all the way down. I'm not gonna bore you with that. That's the hand cramping part. So I'll get this rubber seal in, and then probably video back into finishing up the assembly on it. I'm just using a 1/8 by 1/4 rivet. They do sell special rivets for it, but I have not seen the need to do them. As long as you put these in and kind of pay attention to where the back end is. Some of the rivets you have to force in from one way because the rivet gun will only access it from one side. If that's the case, I take just a little punch and tap the mushroomed end down as flat as you can. I never have any problems with them catching the window or not sealing right. So pretty much gonna fight with this for a few minutes. And like I said, this is a pretty easy process, especially if you've done one or two. This is like my 4th or 5th set, so it's pretty straightforward. Assembly is just as easy, and it's actually easier since you're not fighting the rust, trying to remove that nut loose. So let me get the rubber in, and we'll finish this project up, put it back in the truck. Once you get the rubber in, which is kind of fun, side note here, this stuff is amazing, by the way. Put a little thin layer of that stuff down, helps it slide in. Once you get this into place, you can see where your inner channel will fit. You got to tuck it into the seal on each side there and up top. I will put the rivets in, the 3 of them that I can get to, the face of the rivet here. This top one, you have to come in from the back side and rivet in, just because you can't get the gun in there once the frame's together. And then you tie this together at the top with 2 rivets, and that's pretty much the worst of it. I'll pop those rivets in here quick, and then it's just a matter of sticking the glass back in, making sure that it is set properly tension-wise, and you got yourself a rebuilt wing window. I think these kits are like $35 or something per side. Very good, cheap insurance to make sure that your classic doesn't just rust away from the inside, because you got water leaking in everywhere. So definitely recommend doing this. Let me pop those rivets in, then I'll throw the glass in it, and we'll call the rebuild done. So now that I got the rivets popped back in, go ahead and start sliding this assembly together. I took it to the wire wheel again, cleaned up as much of the surface as possible to make installation easy. Remember, our first washer that goes in, the flat side goes towards the front to make sure you get it clocked properly. And then we get ourselves, I'm just going to call them a nylon washer for lack of knowing exactly what kind of material they are. That goes on, and the shaft goes right through like such. Once you get her set into place, I like to always latch the window properly. That way you get everything lined up good. Like such. Lock her into place, and then you will get your hinge lined up. Once it slides down all the way. plenty of rivets in there. Usually helps to put your spring and nut on also to help draw the window down. But pretty easy job here, in case you haven't done them before. Let's see here, put our washer on. And then our spring. Oop, don't forget your little lock. And we're on our way. These don't have to be really tight, but they need to be tight enough to draw the window down into the seal. If you get them too tight, you won't be able to open the window at all. Probably about there, looks about good. I'll get it riveted down and actually operate the window a couple times just to make sure everything is working properly. One more rivet on our hinge, and she is complete. Whoop. And there it is. One rebuilt wing window. New seals, won't leak. Just run it back and forth. You can tell this one's still a little loose. So I'll just gradually tighten this nut down until it starts to grab. That should be there. That feels pretty good. So there you go. Easy upgrade. Didn't take very long at all. Basically recorded everything. So however long the video is, the 10-15 minutes, whatever, is about what it'll take you. Just be patient. Don't get really aggressive with your grinder. All I used was a rivet gun, a 1/2 inch or 13mm wrench, just a screwdriver to do a little prying with. I did have a hammer and a punch to knock the old rivets out. A little bit of your sill glide. That also works really well on the felt channels and the rear rubber channel. Helps the window go up and down. Regulators are kind of weak on these things, so anything you can do to help lubricate it easy up and down will save you there too. So I'll get this thing tightened up and start sticking it back in the door. Thanks for watching.